Welcome to the podcast that questions everything, from conspiracies to philosophy, from science to religion. We will be looking at the construct of the illusion, and as always, we will question everything. Hello and welcome to another Everything's an Illusion podcast with your host Rob Wallace, and I'm joined again with the bearded master of sci-fi, Mr. Greg Andrew. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing very well, sir. How's yourself?
Good, fresh, ready.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
Excited to change the world, to get people questioning every last motherfucking thing.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what we're here to do.
Right, cool. So let's just jump straight in. Right, so
Yep.
To the good people there, out there in podcast land, this is our questioning our navel, pondering your navel kind of episodes. It's just a back and forth kind of table tennis session between me and Greg, and we're just going to cover a whole host of different topics. Today's topic, if you've seen the poster, Coral Castle, Mind Vampires, Print on Demand, NHS, Changing the World, social media outrage, gravity waves, religion, science is a religion, and a few other fantastic things. Sound about right?
I mean, and that, how much does that cost you to listen to in the podcast? On the internet? Is it free?
It's free, but you can feel free to click away on the Google adverts.
Well, I think, to be fair, I think you should click on the Google ads, listeners out there, because that's a lot of free for your buck.
Or you can go and check out the sponsors, you know. But
even better.
Let's fire straight into
Let's go, man.
Coral Castle.
Cool.
Now, the Coral Castle, Coral Castle is it's down as a like a protected kind of site, like a UNESCO kind of protected site in America. It's in Florida, and it was built by a Eastern European migrant. Those fucking migrants coming here and building a fucking fantastic piece of fucking kit, you know. So it was built, and it's basically coral blocks built into like a big castle, a big kind of fancy kind of device, big fancy kind of castle, and it was built by one man by himself, supposedly as a love, as a declaration of love to a lost life, a lost wife.
Like now, the Taj Mahal.
Aye, that sort of thing. But this was built, I suppose it's not quite as grand as the Taj Mahal, but it was built by one man, and that's what makes it spectacular, and they built it at night. Now, when he built it, the mystery that was left behind, i.e. how the fuck did this guy build this, has puzzled people for many years, and for many years there has been loads of videos, loads of websites, books, etc., all dedicated to the idea that the guy somehow used sound, levitation. He used kind of the secrets of the pyramids. You know, he was like some sort of alien technology kind of secrets. And a lot of the alternative community, I love kind of the idea of the Coral Castle. I came across this video, Ed's Coral Castle Quarry and Flywheel Engineering Mystery Solved. I'm like looking at it, and you watch the video, and the guy that's in the video, a guy called Scott Russell, he takes it step by step, and he shows you how the Coral Castle was done, and it's fantastic. Like I think it's more exciting than the possibility of levitation and stuff. The guy basically created a full sort of like, so he creates pulleys, and it uses I'll post the video up so you can sit and watch the video, but it makes like big tripods, and then the one size of a tripod, winching it together, then he uses that one to create a bigger tripod, and that one to create a bigger tripod, and then once he's got the bigger tripod, then he can start like levering big blocks about and stuff. But he powers it all, and he has all the whole place is all wired up and running off batteries for his lights, for his coral cutting devices, his milling machines, everything. And that's the genius of it. He basically created a fully automatic quarrying system running off batteries. And that's why he could do it with one man. And it's amazing. This was made, I think,
1936.
1936, by one guy at night. And he created a sort of factory. Amazing. So I'll post that video up. And I recommend that you should watch it, and everybody should watch it. And if you've heard of the Coral Castle, it is officially solved. So that's the first thing. So check out that video. It blew my mind for many years, thinking about, it's that classic, how was the pyramids built? Well, it's not quite that level of mystery, but it was definitely a big mystery. And here's some American dude, basically, he's replicated everything that needs to be done and shows it in this video step by step, that it's possible, it's plausible, and it's definitely one option. And he goes to the museum and he takes pictures of all the stuff that's actually in the Coral Castle and explains all the different devices. And if you're into engineering, he goes through the electrical systems, he goes through the mechanical systems. Really interesting.
What I find interesting about the enigma of the Coral Castle is this guy, Edward Lidscanlon, is that how it's pronounced?
Lidscanlon, and I don't know, a bit Eastern European guy.
So he was meant to marry the love of his life, and she, what's it when you run away before the wedding? Left him before the wedding, the night before the wedding. His man was that heartbroken, he thought, I'm going to build massive coral monuments as to get over my heartbreak. I'm going to be fast forward 80 years and he'd probably just go on Tinder and try and get a bird. I think we've lost something over the last 8 years, Rob.
I think that's like, and this guy, he
shows you what TV, internet, and mobile devices has done to the broken-hearted. But no, it's an impressive thing. There's a great wee story I read online about it. Was he wanted to move it, he built it, and then he thought, I'm going to move this to my new home, because he'd moved house. These are very relative terms. He'd obviously had a big homestead, so the only time he got other people involved was to help him move some of the structures from one place to a few hundred miles away. But he would tell them to come during the day, and then at night he would load them onto the truck and stuff like that, so they could move all this stuff, so nobody saw how he did it. Keeping that mystery alive. Genius. Absolute genius. Brilliant.
But it's all simple mechanics and electrical systems, which
the world needs more of this stuff. People going out and finding it and looking at it and stuff.
But the thing was, he created a lot of his own electrical systems. Like he was really good. If you're into that kind of stuff, check it. Right, what you got for me, Greg? What you got for me?
Turns out Einstein was on the button again, dude. That man, what a moustache he had. Scientists this week have been confirming they have been able to detect gravitational waves in space. So what does that mean for us? That we can now detect these gravitational waves. So I think it derives from his theory of relativity. Is that where it comes from? Is that, and like maybe about 100 years ago now or something like that, he would say that he theorised that suns exploding or colliding and creating massive impacts in space would ripple through space-time, creating black holes and stuff like that, and these black holes would send out gravitational waves. And this week, over the last week or so, they've been able to prove that these things actually exist out there in the ether of the universe.
I was reading earlier on some of the flat earthers' rebuttals to gravity waves and the new discovery of gravity waves, and evidently gravity waves are just being discovered to convince those who need a little bit extra convincing that the Earth is in fact a sphere. So, that's the only reason that gravity waves exist.
Yeah.
An extra level of propaganda on the current paradigm of
Again, we spoke about this the last time, and we were talking about physics and stuff like that, and the kind of idea of the mathematics and calculations into going through these theories, and how the systems they put in place to try and detect such things were kind of out of our standard grade physics
realm.
But so I think this is once again they've only scratched the surface of what the implications of this would be, but the mind does go all Star Trekky and gets a wee bit more excited, and you hear people talking, well, if general relativity has proved this to be right, this could be used to create wormholes that could be stable enough to be super fast space travel. And then you think, well, if we can't do that now, but a possible race millions and billions of years ahead of us and technology wise could easily have manipulated these waves into something. They could be here. Probably not here because they'd go fuck that place, it's mental, but you never know. Time travel is definitely on the cards with these sort of kind of maths and stuff. Just really interesting. It again brings science to the forefront of the news, which is always nice.
That was one of the quotes I read with regards to gravity waves was now the confirmation of gravity waves, time travel is just an engineering problem to be solved. We have the theoretical physics, we have the understanding, so it's just an engineering problem now.
Yeah,
it's possible, which is interesting.
No, definitely. But it's just again, it comes back to the idea that you can theorise something hundreds, thousands of years, do all the maths, but science takes its time, and you're either going to be proved or disproved. So
science is sorry to cut you off there, but I think science is shaped by what you're looking for. You know, I think you have an unlimited imagination of possibilities, and a lot of scientists will say yes, that we are just using the tools that we've got to understand the natural world and the rules and the laws of the natural world. Hence physics, using their maths, but at the same time you go looking for gravity waves and oh, look at that, you find gravity waves. We went looking for you look at other stuff in science fiction that's came fruit. We go looking for things, and maybe over a period of 100 years they start to develop, we start to find them, we start to I firmly believe we're just in a big holodeck, and we are continuously creating the illusion in front of our eyes, but there's a slight time delay, and the mind is the magic weaver, and science, as much as it loves to, will never understand the inner mind, because you can't monitor what's happening inside somebody's mind.
Can you?
Well, they can. They can.
They have a device.
They can monitor all the frequencies and break down all the frequencies, and they can replicate the frequencies and stuff. But for instance, what do you see when you shut your eyes? How does your inner world experience? You know, obviously, take in your culture, take in the language you speak, take in your sensors, etc., etc. Then everybody's inner world is completely different. How do you perceive? How do you relate? How do you express emotion, sound, etc., etc. inside your own brain, inside your mind? You can break down into frequencies and replicate the broadcasted frequencies and modulations of the frequencies, etc. But you cannot can build that inner world.
Yeah. Unless they develop that thing they had in Batman Forever, and it goes and tap your telly. That was pretty cool.
But going back to the gravity wave kind of idea, briefly touched on the fact that very few folk actually understand the math and the physics behind what they're actually talking about, this gravity wave. So we all understand slightly what gravity is. Gravity, obviously, you drop an apple, boom, comes down the way. There's a standard 9.8 I think meters per second. Is that? Something like 9.8, it's just under 10, and obviously it varies at different parts of the Earth, because as we know, the Earth is not a sphere, it is an obloid spheroid or something like that. It's like a squash pear.
We solved that last time.
So at different points of the Earth you have different strengths of gravity, and in really good sci-fi books, when they go to different planets, folk are like squat machines, or folk are really tall and skinny because they have different gravities in that world, etc. But a gravity wave, again, is that the thing that's underlying the gravity?
Yeah.
The thing which, and then the other thing which I find really liberating and exciting about, again, I was on the flat earth stuff, reading about how they experience this new, again, confirmation that the Earth is a sphere. And the thing I liked about that was there was more people in the flat earth community breaking it down and trying to work out the math and trying to actually understand the physics and back engineer it and saying, I don't understand this, I do understand that doesn't work. Then the so-called scientific kind of pages and stuff are going, where every one of them just accepted it hook, like, and sinker. It was just a case of, we've got gravitational waves, boom. But they don't understand it, they don't try to break it down, they don't try to, again, whereas I always find the best way to understand something is you try to rip it apart and ask loads of questions all the way. Again, it's like that religious, again, that documentary, the guy was a Christian for X amount of years, and then he was like an investigative journalist, and he says, you know what, let me see if it holds up to the rigours of what I use to test everything else, and it didn't. And I think, like, obviously a lot of stuff in the flat earth community, I'm like, but I like the way that they're sceptical about everything. Alright, so you've discovered fucking gravity waves. Well, let me just take a fucking half day of my time, a pen and a paper, and I'll try and work it out on the information that you've gave me.
Yeah.
Does it work? Does it work for me? Or it does work for me. Whereas a lot of scientists or science folk just accept it. And it's like almost like the priest telling you, this is how we're going to interpret this psalm. Accept it. That makes sense? Am I just rambling?
Just rambling a wee bit. We'll come back to that later on, so that's something to look forward to later on in the podcast, people. But yeah, no, so gravitational waves, fun and games.
Right, now we've got to fire at the next one then.
Let's go then, buddy.
So the next thing I've got is print on demand. Right, so print on demand, so obviously so if you want to self-publish your book, or if you're an artist and you want to self-publish your art pieces, etc. So for me, obviously I've wrote a book called Health Made Simple. It's a fantastic book, and you can check that at healthmadesimple.info, or The Energetic Mind, which is artwork that I do. And both of these I'm using print on demand services. Now, one of the things I kind of noticed the other week when I was putting up a lot of my pictures to get them printed on canvases and cups and mugs and shower curtains and everything else, I'm thinking to myself, is everybody here just an artist trying to sell their shite? Because if that's the case, there is a community of 30,000, but they're no buyers. It's a community of 30,000 sellers. You know, and then you start getting about the forums to see who's actually making money on Society 6, on Design by Human, on Redbubble, on Cafe Press, etc. And it's like, again, very few people. It's almost like the music industry, you know, get 2 or 3 rock stars that are selling, again, 10,000 t-shirts a week. And then,
Can you?
And then you've got like one guy out of the rest who sold a single fucking t-shirt. So, print on demand services, I think there's a big thing at a minute with this kind of push where you can be a novelist, you can be an author, you can design your own prints and sell your own prints and set up a web shop, and we've already done it for you, and all you have to do is provide the art and People will buy. People will buy. Well, I've set up the art, and for 6 months, but try to sell my prints, and my prints, by the way, are awesome, good designs and all. So, I'm just curious if anybody out there has any experience of print on demand, and yeah, it's a strange one where you're peddling away, but is the community based around other folk trying to sell their stuff, and nobody actually is a buyer? And I think that's the illusion, where the websites make their money, but you don't.
Yeah, they're taking money for your prints, and they're saying, well, I mean, if printing people's books...
Well, they don't. They take a cut of whatever you sell, but it costs you $1 to sign up.
Yeah.
So 30,000 folks sign up, it's $30,000. Obviously, it's in their interest for people to, for you to sell shit, because they make money when you sell shit. But you're not going to be selling shit if, have you ever been to a print-on-demand website?
I can't say that I have to.
Like Cafe Press or Society 6, Redbubble. You know, like in some of the gear, like for instance, if you want a unique, bespoke piece of art that you can get printed onto, say, like a bed sheet or a shower curtain or a clock or a mug or whatever the fuck you want, they can print it on that. But it's like totally kind of unique design, so loads of like unique movie kind of quotes or designs or themes, to kind of spiritual stuff, all the stuff I've got up, so spiritual stuff, to kind of good quotes or whatever. You find something really kind of unique that's kind of hip and kind of in, you know, that none of your mates have. But the thing is, if nobody's buying there, if everybody's gone to the traditional outlets, then is this print and demand just got to die a death before it even starts?
Well, we had is there an elephant in your room, or just in the background? Just having a big burst at its trunk there. We had my niece. This is obviously a very boring story, but we'll go with it anyway. My niece's birthday. She was 4. Happy birthday, Abby. And we thought, we'll get her those wee, is it marshmallows or cupcakes? You can get the picture printed. I think it's marshmallows. It's like a box of 9, just like a square of marshmallow cup. You get we're gonna get like brothers and sisters in it, and like a packet of marshmallows at your local supermarket shop. There are many. Fill your boots. It'd be like £1. I think to get them printed was like £12 plus £3 postage and packaging. And you see on the social media, the Facebook, that loads of folk are buying it. You know, it's a novelty item. Again, it could be seen that some of the things on these print and demand things are kind of seen as novelty items that folk are thinking, that's a great idea, but will never really sell. And as you say, folk are still going to go to IKEA and buy basically the same thing, but generic slogan on the bedsheet or generic art piece for the wall. So is it a case of trying to get people redirected? Or is it, I don't know, dude, I think I've started rambling there, but...
I'm not trying to solve the print and demand, and just just looking at obviously you're trying to sell shit, and I came to the conclusion that maybe everybody else is trying to sell shit, and therefore that's why nobody's selling shit, because it's a website or a marketplace where everybody is a seller. There's not actually any buyers. And print on demand is seen as the kind of future of, it's like the social media of creative people. It's liberating you. You can sell your own music, sell your own books, sell your own art, but still the traditional kind of means of huge budgets for marketing and dominating the SEO and the Google search rankings for certain things. Well, time will tell. Yep. Right, what you got next?
Let's go with... Well, we kind of touched on it just before. Well, I think we'll combine two. We kind of talked before we started recording about social media and the viral image. We both, over the last 2 weeks, had come up with one story each that kind of encapsulated this and such a difference in those stories. So the story I had was of the aid worker in Nigeria, and she was given a toddler who'd been accused of being a witch a drink of water and some nutrition through like a kind of OT biscuit, and then the later story turns out that they took the baby away to a local hospital that they run and were able to clean the baby up and get it into a wee bit of shape. But this is happening all over Nigeria, and the image that was online was absolutely fucking heartbreaking, dude. So a baby, I don't think there's any other words to describe it. Toddler 1 or 2, still a baby in my eyes, drinking water from the bottle from the aid worker, and it's the contrast between the two. So it's got that very Pulitzer Prize vibe about it. She's blonde, white aid worker. This is a wee baby from Africa, so Nigerian black baby. And in the background, people are walking by, kind of ignoring it. And there's this whole thing about an increase in the belief in witchcraft, and thousands of children are put into this situation in Nigeria and other parts of Africa, being accused of being witches and causing droughts and plagues. And I think the rise of AIDS and stuff like that has got something to do with it, and people not really understanding what's happening within these communities. But the image that was online of this woman giving this poor baby probably its first drink of the day went online, hit the internet, and became a kind of social media explosion of the week or the day, maybe even. And the company that they work for and the charity did get an increase in donations from this picture of the toddler. So for me, I just wanted to probably try and segue into the idea of the increase of witchcraft and fucking superstitious ideas that are happening in these countries, what's making that come. But then the story kind of relates a wee bit more to another story that happened at the far end of that week, which you kind of picked up on. If you wanted to explain that, and we can maybe bring the two of them together.
I don't know how they're going to come together, but
well, I think they'll come together, and the reason why they've both exploded, if you know what I mean.
Well, the story that I had seen was in Argentina. There was a baby dolphin scooped from the sea, so that the gathered crowd could take selfies with the dolphin, and as a what do you call it? As a side effect of scooping a dolphin from its natural habitat to take selfies, the dolphin died. Funny that. And the outrage online, and this is again for me, this what I seen was again so many people, sharing this and being like writing their paragraph of rage and again disgust, and how everybody that took a selfie should be hung, and again just absolutely livid at this experience, this post that they had encountered on social media,
which then got loads of retweets and likes on Facebook and shares, and people got to give their 2 cents about fucking dolphins being lifted. So let's not be wrong about it. Dolphins being lifted from the sea and posed as selfies is an absolute terrible thing, and we here at Everything's an Illusion podcast would deeply, deeply urge people not to do such a thing. I think our listeners are turned on. They're not stupid enough to lift dolphins at sea. But the world that we now live in, these 2 images happening within 7 days of each other, I'd say.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Every day seems to have a new there needs to be a new image or a new cause or a new outlet for people to be angry online and share their opinions. And just the thing about me is that I'm sure this wee baby boy isn't the only one who's this has happened to. I mean, the picture online is a 2-year-old, maybe 2 to 3-year-old baby being left to fucking fend for itself on a dirt road where people are ignoring it because they think it's a fucking witch. And it takes the kindness of these aid workers over there to kind of take the poor boy away and give it a drink of water and feed it, and get 3 days and folk are already, right, we've seen that. Let's not deal with fucking the idea of AIDS and witches and stuff in Nigeria. And baby,
let's
there's a
move on
fucking
to
dolphin.
And
Are people but then again, you might not have seen that, the Nigerian boy news story. It might not come up in your feed. It might be because the way your feeds, you might be fucking the world's biggest dolphin fan, so that's all you ever see. It's just it's the skewing of priorities, and I think I'm probably as guilty as everybody else. I'm very quick to move on to the next cause, but just I'm telling you that. See the picture? That's for me. That's up there with.
But that's
an emancipated baby that what's his name, took, the famous photographer guy killed himself, Kevin Carter. His pictures or some of the images you saw in the 80s of these, I mean, but that's not because there was widespread famine. This is because fucking people believe that this child's a witch.
Therefore it gets what it deserves, kind of thing.
Aye. And it's fucking heartbreaking. I'm looking at the picture right now and I'm almost in tears about it. It's just a scary, sad world we live in.
But that's I suppose the interesting thing about this whole kind of hamburger culture that we live in. Mm-hmm. I mean by hamburgers, I mean like short bites. You know, it's you need a fix. Kind of, if it's no sugar in the hamburger and the kind of quick, fast carbohydrates, it's the kind of quick emotional fix to get your anger and frustration at the fact that you fucking hate your job, or the fact that you're basically just living in a rat race. You know you're living in a rat race. You know that you're fucking working 95 and you retire when you're 70, when you get fucking no health, and you'll fucking die, because that's our fucking life in the West. We think we're free, but we're fucking tied down to the fucking ball and chain like more than any other society in time in history. And we need these kind of small bites of outrage to make us feel as if we count and stuff. But if we'd actually just opened ourselves up and started questioning everything, we would realise that our whole fucking society's fucked up. We have, at the minute, we've got a Tory government selling our NHS out from underneath us, breaking it up. We've got fucking bankers buying and selling everything they can to fuck over everybody and everybody to make a profit. We have a military industrial complex which goes out its way to fucking kill everybody and anybody it can to make money. If you just look at anything, I mean, we all prize our iPhones and our Samsung devices, but the factories that they're made in, the workers have suicide nets, and they work without fucking pee breaks, and there's so many things that when you start to analyse and you start to ask the question, you start to look at them, you'd be like, holy fuck. So I think these short hamburger fixes, and they are real things, i.e. fucking taking a dolphin out to sea to take a picture of it and it fucking dying, is fucking ridiculous and shouldn't be done. And folks should think about that shit before. And the story you're talking there about Nigeria, folk being so fucking dense that they would treat a young vulnerable baby as if it was a threat to their existence, like it was a fucking fictitious.
But we need these. People are dense.
We need these things every week. Again, like a focused outrage that you can share and have your voice, because it's people are more interested in a dolphin drowning than the politics. People are more interested in the but it's no. It doesn't just have to be a negative thing. It could be like fucking this week in Facebook we're fucking putting a picture of what we looked like when we were 5. You know what I mean? And everybody's got something to say about it. Or there's usually one viral thing a day which consumes maybe 20% of your timeline, so therefore it comes up on your timeline, and you fire in your tuppence worth. You know what I mean? But the thing is, we know that Facebook controls everything on that timeline that they use, and I've done many experiments to control emotions and see how people react and all that sort of stuff. You know, they're controlling and using. Yeah, but just it's like being in the Matrix. It's like the first level of the Matrix.
I mean, obviously, the things that are happening in places like Syria and refugees coming across in boats, and there's obviously thousands of people possibly drowning throughout the year. But I mean, you think this wee boy's 3, and in that time,
there was probably
science is.
There's probably 30 folk drowned yesterday. There's probably
science
30 folk drowned a day.
Science in the last 3 years has discovered the Higgs boson. We just spoke about them detecting gravitational waves, and now they're talking about fucking time travel through wormholes. Whereas, as far as I'm concerned, the Catholic Church, in its regard to AIDS and sexual health within the entire continent of Africa, is a fucking disgrace. And it's these myths that purport through superstitious nonsense, that allows things like that. And I know this is a very focused case because that's how these things get you up. I'm getting up myself right now. But, oh fuck. Just...
You know, it's that, like, within the Bible and within the Quran, you know, magic is, you know, magic is obviously a negative. And, but the interesting thing about that, I remember being Speaker's Corner one time, and a young lad walked past with a Harry Potter t-shirt on, and the big Christian speaker, he said, I would be within my right as a Christian to hang that kid from that tree. And obviously all the crowd were like, what? You can't say shit like that. And he was like, have you read the Bible? Do you proclaim to be a Christian? And then he started quoting verse and verse, chapter and chapter, about all the various different times, again, where in the Old Testament they were fighting against magic and what God says about magic. And when he's quoting the shit, you're like, we're relative to the book, then that guy's right. He should hang that kid, and that's what his book prescribes. But the fact of the matter is, most Christians, like we've discussed in the past, they pick and choose, and that's one of the big things about modern day society. We pick and choose our values and our ethics, like on a daily basis. I mean, in one day our value system is getting outraged at this, but at the same time we're looking for the new iPhone. So we know for a fact that means that there was fucking kids in Sierra Leone or some kind of West African country that fucking mined some form of rare earth element or some element part, some metal or prime material needed for the fucking iPhone, and the boy was fucking 10 years old, who lived to his 15 because he's been in some fucking chemical rich soup, fucking digging the shit out with his fucking fingers since he was fucking 6. And we know that only reason that he's there and that demand is needed is because we want our fucking phones. You know what I mean? And the full thing about, as you know, and most people know, the whole thing about a business is to push the cost on somebody else. It's to externalise the cost. So that's why you can get a fucking phone for, say, 20 quid when there's no way it could ever cost 20 quid when you take in the raw materials, the shipping, the marketing, the manufacture, the design, all the different things. But the reason it can cost 20 quid is because we paid to be child labour in fucking Sierra Leone a pound for his entire life.
Yeah.
We paid the guy in Mexico maybe $5 a day. We paid the guy in China $7 a day. None of them get healthcare. None of them get paid breaks, paid holidays. None of them get any of this kind of stuff. We externalise the cost, and the cost is their health, their sanity, their lifespan, them living in polluted environments, so that we can have a cheap product. And everybody knows that when you think about it and break it down. It's no rocket science. But nobody wants to acknowledge that. We would rather get outraged at. And sure, as was said, again, it is you should be getting outraged at people fucking treating kids like that, and places and countries, and people treating fucking animals like that as just an object to be photographed. We should be outraged, but we should also be outraged at everything else. And it's not until people start to get fucking outraged and angry will we actually start to see something happening in this society on this earth. I think it was Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, it said something along the lines, we can, if we work together here, we can explore the earth, we can explore the space together or something. But basically saying if we can create peace, then we can explore the stars together. But we're never going to explore the stars and explore all the fantastic things about science and actually use it as a human race until we can get to the point where we stop fighting, we stop being fucking controlling bastards. And the funny thing about it, it's all just a story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a story that's created. So did that work the two into one?
I think we did. I think we definitely did. You're a smart bastard, aren't you?
Right, okay. So what's your next subject on your do you have any more? I've got
have you got one more?
I've got 3 more.
Bloody hell, man, you've been gravitation. Well, let's just fire through. I've got one more, but I'll leave that to the end.
Right, so changing the world starts with thinking big. Think big or go home. So I suppose it comes down to this whole idea that, like Steve Jobs once said, or supposedly said, and the thing is, Steve Jobs is a cunt, but I like this quote. He says, if you look about and you see something that inspires you, and you think Coral Castle, or you think Pyramids, Great Wall of China, the creation of a huge company from start to like Google 1998 to like the most successful company in the history of humanity, less than 20 years. That was done by a man or a person no greater than you. So that's the whole idea of, you have unlimited, untapped potential, but you just got to fucking realise that everything that you admire and think was great or was a fucking massive achievement was done by somebody no greater than you. No extra abilities, no fucking, he wasn't smarter, sharper, or more talented. It was just like you. And once you realise that all great achievements were done by a person, then it becomes almost achievable. You start to think, well, maybe I could do that. Fucking Genghis Khan took over and mastered the known world. He was just one guy that led the charge. So when you think, he was just a guy. And he wasn't an alien, he wasn't a Superman, he wasn't no special powers, he was just a dude. So I suppose the challenge that I put to the good people out there is to change the fucking world. Stop fucking writing rants about dolphins and get out there and fucking change the world. Like, make shit happen for the positive, or again for your life. And that's what I'm trying to motivate myself, I suppose, to start making some impacts. I'm starting to apply for kind of charity-based jobs for things that I'm keen on seeing changing, and try to use some of my creative skills in a positive way to help bring awareness to certain things which I think are important. Hence the podcast and various other kind of artistic and creative things I do with writing and stuff. It's to can leave your wee bit to say, fucking, we can change this for the positive. Health made simple. £5 gives you all the tools you need to be healthy as a motherfucker. You can't beat that shit. Know what I mean? And for about 5 years it was free, so can't whack that either.
Missed it, folks. Could have had it for none. I'll sell you my copy for £4.50. I'm up.
There's a good deal.
A kind of interesting thing you just said there, dude, which I might even have a wee extra subject to it, is you talk about Steve Jobs being a bit of a cunt.
Oh,
I think what has been affecting me, my thoughts concerning not hero worship, but people are see as potential heroes who other people might see as total cunts. So, as you say, these people they emulate or wish to be like, or feel like, inverted commas, use the words legend. There will always be somebody who has the opposite opinion, or has, or will give you facts that will change your opinion in that person, or might not even change your opinion in that person, but you will have to live with the fact that this person did X, Y, and Z. So, in the past, we've talked about very famous inspirational people. So for me, my kind of heroes would be John Lennon. He was in a band called the Beatles, Rob. They were quite big back in the day, if you've ever heard of them.
I think I've heard of them.
You've heard of them, that's good. So John Lennon...
I've not heard any of their music, though.
No, I know that.
I heard it was pish.
I saw you dancing at my wedding. Don't you tell lies.
They were the Beatles, Greg. They were the almost Beatles.
The almost Beatles. They were them Beatles, by the way. Great band. Get them for your wedding if you ever get married. But John Lennon, his first marriage to Cynthia Lennon, he was a bit of an arse. There is him admitting to the fact that on several occasions he possibly raised his hands to the lady, i.e. he beat his wife. His first son, Julian Lennon, didn't exactly have the best upbringing. You know, when Julian's 6 and 7, his dad is strung out in LSD and then heroin, and then runs away from his mother and his home with an avant-garde Japanese artist and moved to New York, basically leaving a 10-year-old child with a single mother. I mean, these are not the actions of a nice person. But on the counter side of that, he made some great music, and then as his politics evolved later in his life, he went through the whole give peace a chance stuff. Then he worked in New York fighting against the social injustices that were happening there, and then he fought against his immigration process and how that was unfair on him and then other people that affected. And to me, he was a very positive role model. So, and another person would maybe be somebody like Che Guevara. You know, me and you were quite left-wing leaning, and I'm a great admirer of Che Guevara. Read a lot of his books. Used to have the t-shirt. I don't have the t-shirt anymore. It's a bit of a shame. But he could be seen from a different light as somebody who was very racist in several accounts, very homophobic. I'm sure I've read things about him online where there was a persecution of homosexuality within Cuba after the raid, and he became like the interior minister and stuff like that. But on the other side, a man who fought passionately for his beliefs, fought in several revolutions, not just in Cuba. Even after the Cuba Revolution, he went to other places within Latin America trying to free these people from these banana republic corporations and the CIA control and stuff like that. You know, somebody who was able to stand up from his middle class upbringing and wipe all that off and go and fight with the common man for a bigger picture. We've spoken in the past about Gandhi, how in one sense like Gandhi was a person who freed an entire nation from the yoke of British imperial rule, but on the other hand could be a bit of a dick to his wife. He would refuse his wife to get medication, that he then himself would take that medication when he was ill. He was also possibly a bit of a racist as well to other races, you know what I mean?
He worked in South Africa, and he looked down the blacks. Kind of seen the Indians and the whites as a superior race, and it's quite how they don't talk about that side of.
But it's the thing, you know what I mean? I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I'm just trying to say
no, but
all our heroes are human, and to emulate them, you need to accept these facts.
What you're saying is good, and like a couple of people. Dan Carlin, who does the Hardcore History podcast, he talked in his Genghis Khan podcast. He talks about you as a listener on my podcast will never make the category of great human or great historical person, because to be a great historical person you basically have to be a mass murderer. And he looks at like Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, all these great folk from history, these epic leaders, and they were all mass murdering, fucking crazy, psychopathic killing machines that had ruthless, but yet history looks at them all favourably. And he even goes so far as to say, in 100 to 200 years, maybe a bit more, people look back as Hitler as a great leader, because history always has. You know, looking back at Genghis Khan, well, Genghis Khan killed the most people, the most humans ever under his order by hand. So he had his people like literally kill millions of people throughout the known world, from China to Europe, you know, by hand. Yeah, like sack an entire city, kill them all, everybody, every woman, child, dog, cat, man, everything. And send out his generals, and his generals would send out the soldiers, and each one of them had to come back with 20 heads, or however they divvied it up. If there's 100,000, every one of them had to have 10,000, and then his subordinates would get 500 heads apiece. So for every head, you know, they would cut off an ear to show that they had done it. You know, kill them, and it's kind of crazy. And then we look at Genghis Khan. I know for a number of years I looked at the story of Genghis Khan as this great warrior, like Conan the Barbarian kind of guy. And then I heard that Dan Carlin podcast. I was like, holy fuck, this guy was an absolute ruthless, killing, barbarian motherfucker. You know what I mean?
I do apologise. I've actually used the C word quite a lot this episode, which once again will give us the wee E for explicit on iTunes. Damn it. But right, yeah, no, so that kind of, be the best person you can be, change the world, get out there and do it, but realise your heroes have flaws. We are all human, we all live on this one tiny planet, and we all will die. That's a fucking happy thought, isn't it?
Alright.
Cool.
Right, let's fire on. Let's go
let's go.
Just a quick one on people should give it a lot more interest and time to what's happening with NHS just now. You know what I mean? And what has been happening for the last decade, the slow and progressive takeover of an American style administration heavy, insurance heavy health service that has been chopped up and fucking sold off. And the thing which is happening a lot just now with these junior doctors, it's all related to this slow 2 decade, or since Margaret Thatcher's people take over and what do you call it, kind of like a spy undercover, not out in the open takeover of the NHS to make me and you and everybody else pay, and basically turn it into an American system of if you don't have insurance, go and die, fuck off. And that's not what the NHS is. One of the best things that kind of happened after the Second World War, when we realised that, you know, humanity was of value. When people seen that kind of carnage, the millions of deaths, and thought, no, we're all flesh and blood. We need to look after everybody, and kind of create social housing, NHS, etc., etc. We're now in a time where the slowly but surely cutting it up into chunks and selling it. And if we don't start like waking up to this, people don't start being vocal, sharing this kind of meme, about NHS, then you're not going to have an NHS. At the minute we're already getting, there's not enough beds. All the junior doctors, these are highly qualified. When you say a junior doctor, they've been at work in uni for like 7 years or whatever. They're a fucking doctor. They're just not a consultant, and they're being forced to go and find work. Say Canada, Australia, various other countries, that highly skilled people that can go anywhere in the world and get a job, and the service is already struggling. But that's what happens when you privatise. You de-skill, and then you fucking whack up the costs, and you make it a fucking tight resource that's in demand.
Yeah.
And that's how you get more money out of cunts. And sure, it's coming, and people are, it's fucking sure as day, but folk are too busy sharing shitty memes, and the no into politics. No, that's deep. Let's talk about some
dolphins.
Some shite thing that's getting on the telly or whatever. But it's I'll post this a good article from, it's called cost.org, and it's a connection between the junior doctor's contract and the American corporate takeover of the NHS, and it has a kind of bit about the history, what you need to know, kind of stuff about the who's doing it, how it's came about, what state the NHS is in just now, corruption, scapegoating of health professionals, and the whole kind of culture. Really interesting article, so I'll post that up and it'll be in the notes, and give that a read. And you need to start supporting our health service, because it's not going to be there pretty soon. I've been in a few times of late for my sinuses. You maybe even hear this in the podcast, and my sinuses have been fucked for a while, due to a few things, and
years of cocaine abuse obviously was the major
could be that. But the speaking to the specialist and that, you get like 5 minutes, and it's, I don't know about you and your line of work, but you don't really get a lot of information for somebody in 5 minutes. You don't really get a lot of in-depth, especially when it's a complex thing that somebody's been dealing with for, like, say 3 years, with loads of different variables that could affect it, and there's loads of different symptoms and loads of, again, you can't get to the bottom of that in 5 minutes. It's impossible. So again, we need to stand up, contact your local MP, MSP, or if you're in another country, like say, again, you need to stick up for the whole idea. And it is in America, they talk about, it's a socialist kind of
Obamacare and all that.
Well, your fire service and your police service, etc., are fucking socialist. Free at the point of fucking use. You call the police and they fucking come. You call the fire service and they come. They don't fucking check your insurance and say, oh, by the way, sorry, you're on the 5th floor, did you say? Oh, do you only have 4th floor insurance? Let's see if the 6th floor have insurance. And oh, they do, right, we'll fight the fire. That's fucking ridiculous.
I think, to go back a wee bit, the greatest accomplishment man has ever had, we have solved that, going to the moon. The greatest institution we have in Great Britain is the NHS. That's just a fact as well as I'm concerned. If you are sick, if you are unwell, doesn't matter age, creed, race, religion, background, as a British citizen, you, through the national insurance and paying your taxes, you can go and see a doctor and get fixed up. That's kind of the basics of it as far as I can see. From that, what the trick has been is subsequent governments over the last 30 years will always say vocally and straight to your face, NHS is a priority, securing the NHS is a priority, we will not touch the NHS. Thatcher did this every election year, would say, we'd never, and then putting in place things that have snowballed into the big thing the Labour Party did for me was the PFI buildings, get into trying to get public things like schools, hospitals, fucking swimming pools, all that sort of stuff that would usually be councils or libraries, getting PFI contracts on them and then having to pay all that back. Big hole money there that walked into the NHS. This idea that junior doctors are getting paid too much or their contracts are all weird. When you compare that to an MP's contract, which was a great meme thing that went up this week, compared to what they actually work, was fucking an eye-opener. For me at the moment, there is a fractioning of the left. The Labour Party's in disarray. Scottish Socialist Party is a bit small. There's the formation of the thing called Rise Scotland or Rise Left, whatever it's called. They're probably too fringe to have any sort of real impact in the left. This obviously bleeds into the unions. How many unions is there? Unison, Unite, all the doctors, whatever I think NHS is Unison, but the doctors will have a different one. Teachers have a EIS. There's a split. For me, we should call some sort of general strike in support of these doctors. I don't have a problem going out and strike for them. I think it's the first. It's not the first step. It's probably like the 10th step. We've just missed the last 9 steps of the degrading of terms and conditions and working conditions, and as you say, bringing in consultants and ideas of privatisation, selling off bits of the NHS that will then you have to pay for, or your national insurance doesn't cover. They lie to us when they say there isn't money for stuff. That's just a fact, as far as I'm concerned. They put the blame on immigrants coming in, or refugees, or people from other parts of Europe coming here and stealing your doctor and stuff like that. Bullshit. The people who are stealing the NHS are the companies outside who are overcharging for drugs, who are overcharging for equipment, who are loaning stuff to the NHS, giving special operations and all that sort of stuff, and then you have to pay extra. As you're saying, what can we do? Writing to MSPs, all that stuff's great, but there should be some sort of galvanisation of the left to fight this. This should from now on, we need to start drawing lines in the sand and saying, you know what? No. The public services that we provide, schools, libraries, community halls, the NHS, and not just NHS, when it comes to the care of disabled kids and all that stuff, we've got a school in Irvine that's shutting down, all these sort of things. This idea of cost cutting, when you're letting things like the bankers get away with stuff, is a fucking disgrace, and it really does need the left to come together and do something, dude. So I think that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a galvanisation of left-wing politics, and all these different separate arms and ideas come together. Whether that will happen or not, I highly doubt. There's still a big Blairite element within the Labour Party, and as much as Jeremy Corbyn would try and get rid of that, I think at an MP level, it's still very high. Maybe a constituency and members are kind of a wee bit more left, but did I just ramble on there for 5 minutes talking about
No, beautiful. The in this article, it's written by a doctor, so it's kind of interesting for that perspective. He's kind of experiencing what's happening, you know, and he says, so he posed a question: what does the future hold for the NHS? He says the blueprint for the final stage of the NHS privatisation and conversion to a private insurance system is to be found in ex-United Health Vice President and current NHS England Chief Simon Stevens, who has a five-year forward view plan. Now, just think about that for a second. Why is the the person in charge is from United Health, ex-vice president of United Health. The American system is an insurance system. Administration heavy. We pay 5% in admin costs. They pay up to 30 to 40% admin costs. You know, so it's basically the admins, the insurers, and the accountants that get paid. The management that get paid in the American system, and they pay 3 times more for the cost of their medical healthcare. Bernie Sanders has been talking about this a lot in his campaign. Americans pay 3 times what we pay, but they get the same service. And the reason for that is because it's such a bureaucratic, admin, lawyer, management, accountant based heavy system, and the workers, i.e. the doctors, the nurses and that, they're the ones that do the work that don't get any pay. And that's what we're moving to. And what confirms that most is, and that's for the chief of the NHS in England, but they've got a guy in for that system to implement the last stages to change it over. This guy in the last bit, his name's Dr. Bob something. I'll scroll to the top of the page, but I'll just read the last 2 paragraphs. It says, tell trusted journalists in the local and national media. So this is, again, what you can do. It's never been easier to call, email or tweet journalists for information about what's going on in your NHS. Use every available platform from talking to people on the street, broadcast social media. So this is what we're doing. The great public awareness and understanding about what is happening to the health service. The harder the privatisation becomes, i.e. the more folk who are talking about it that are aware. And it's the same way we are talking about social media and the problems in society as a whole. The more people that wake up and are actually vocal about the thing, it's harder for them to pull the wool over your eyes if you won't let them pull the wool over your eyes. He says, pleading and petitioning our politicians has failed to stop privatisation. There remain many already engaged in this approach. Both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party opposition support Stephen's final solution for the NHS. So both the 2 major parties support this guy, and the control of which currently remains in the firm grip of the corporate raiders. That's quite a good term for them, because they are essentially just fucking raiding. Doctors, nurses, patients, campaigners and everyone that they can get to join and must help build a mass movement to expose what's going on and fight for our NHS. It's quite interesting because obviously these private companies and corporations, they don't want to deal with a long-term mentally unstable. You know, there's not a lot of profit to be made, and people that are institutionalised, if you like, you know, they want the quick, easy money of people who come in and out. And there's been a lot of good things on that, and how they've been breaking up and fractioning off set bits of the NHS which will be very profitable, and other bits that they'll struggle to make profit, so that they can keep that in the hands of the government, because it's of no interest to their money making. Because at the end of the day, as we've discussed before, you know, the whole idea of a profit of a company, a limited company, as a legal person, as a limited company, is to make profit, and it's to externalise the cost. It's to get somebody else to pay for the fucking thing. Like the health workers in China, the health of workers in West Africa, make them money. And the thing is, it's like the folk who run this country, the highly educated Etonian motherfuckers, are playing a game of chess that's been played for 20, 30 years. And mace cunts don't even know the game's getting played. They don't know the rules. And even if they seen the game, they wouldn't know what the game is called. And the fuckers at the top aren't letting you in on what the game's called, what the rules are. And then you've got to sit and work that shit out. And then by the time you work that shit out, you go, holy fuck. And it's like the first time you ever played table tennis, the first time you ever done anything, you're shit at it. And they're already masters. They're fucking grandmasters of the game. And most people don't even know the game's getting played. I thought it was a good analogy there at the end. That's fucking, thank you. Right, so we've covered everything. apart from mind vampires and alien ghost trolls. You know they're real, Greg. You know they're real.
Well, do you want to do another show about mind vampires and alien ghost trolls another time?
Well, they're on the moon with the Sasquatch.
Brilliant. With the Sasquatch and JFK. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, have you seen anything good this week, dude?
I've been watching the Shannara Chronicles, which is based on the Brooks. It's a kind of fantasy TV series. 8 episodes of 9 I've seen. I watched Doctor Robot. Brilliant. Have you seen that? Mr. Robot.
I'm
seen that?
I'm 5 in. So he's went to lunch in the big building.
Aye. So like I'll know.
I've kind of worked out the twist, to be honest. It's not really hard to work out.
Well, have you? Right, good.
Well, I don't know. I'll let you know. But I've really enjoyed the first 5 episodes, to be honest. So.
I've liked Mr. Robot for a few reasons. It's the techno babble that it gives is quite good, and again, it's quite current. Well, I think so. I'm not a big computer guy, but it kind of sounds kind of geeky and current and that sort of stuff. But at the same time, they're sort of saying, you know, this is the future, and really clever cats that know their computers will just be as powerful as big corporations and governments, and it's interesting that the power to the people could come in this form, but more than likely it'll be shut down before people can actually get any real power, you know. And then obviously these cats creating the F Society to try and take down the digital world and create a sort of utopian farmer society.
No, sounds good. Yeah, that's good. I think people should try it out. I need to try and watch. I was watching it. I've missed about a week of watching, just been working stuff, so I need to catch back up on it. But I've got it there to watch, so it's been good. And the guy's performance is awesome. The young boy that's the lead in it, he's great. I've been watching the X-Files. So here in the UK, we're only 2 episodes in of the new run. So I must admit, I've really enjoyed it so far. Some of the CGI in the first episode was a bit kind of, but I can accept that. That was not a problem. So I don't know if you caught up in the new series of the X-Files, Rob, or you watched it?
No, I've got it there to watch. Just like Mr. Robot, the Shannara Chronicles, and the X-Files, I have to watch things like that by myself.
Yeah.
The good lady's she's no keen in that crap.
Yeah.
So I need to watch that.
Some road time.
I'm on time, so I've not had a chance yet to watch X-Files.
Good
but I'm keen to again. I'm a
it's
big
good.
fan.
You'll enjoy it.
Big fan.
Yep.
Big fan.
But I haven't had a chance to watch any films since we last talked. So no films, guys. I'm sorry.
I've watched something like the Fifth Wave. It's a fucking sci-fi kind of thing. The aliens taking over, and then I watched another one at cinema. It must have been really good because it's left a lasting
Deadpool,
impression.
No? You want to see Deadpool?
It wasn't Deadpool. It was something else. Deadpool looks good, and I think it's about time because supposedly the new Wolverine on the success of Deadpool was going to be an R, and they're finally coming to or an 18. They're finally coming to their realization that, you know, like in the late 80s and 90s, you know, you get action films that were actually an 18, and the last Rambo, you know, big Sly went back to the fuck your CGI pish. I'm going to get folk with 2 limbs, half a limb, big explosions and loads of guts and violence. Me personally, that's the way a fucking action movie should be made, and I like. It's quite funny how in Hollywood they use black blood, because black blood you can put the rating from a 15 to a 12A.
Yeah.
Just by changing the colour of the blood. So there's all these kind of systems and loopholes that they use to, but I think they're starting to realise that folk like.
I think the thing you need to remember is with Deadpool, it's not, even though it is Marvel, the license belongs to Fox. So it's no Marvel Disney, it's Marvel Fox who own the X-Men franchise. So he's part of that franchise, even though it is technically Marvel. It's no Marvel, so he's no part of the whole Avengers kind of world, Ant-Man world, that kind of 12A vibes. So they've been able to go this different direction with Deadpool. Although to me, there's a lot of folks saying, "Oh, it's a R-rated comic book movie." Well, fucking Kick-Ass was an R-rated comedy movie, so kick the comic book movie.
But
Punisher, things like Punisher. But it is coming at this time when there is a lot of comic book movies about, whereas 5 years ago there wasn't as many. So, but no, it looks good. Looks interesting.
There was a film a good few years ago, and it was called Superhero, or Superhero Movie, and is
that like the scary movie one? Is that one?
No. This was.
Was it the one with the guy for The Office, Wayne Wilson?
It was a guy that he basically said that's coming up with some fucking.
Did it have Elaine Page for Juno in it?
It had a different name when I bought the DVD. It was called. Let me just 1 second here. It was called like Superhero Kick-Ass.
It is called Super.
As I say, the name, aye, Super. Yeah. But basically, the guy has he wants to have a super. That's the one, Super. He wanted to have a superhero persona, and he's in the comic book, and folk are talking in the comic book shop, and the lassie's like, "Well, Batman never had a fancy power of that," and he sort of clicks, and he goes home and makes a shitty costume and gets a big wrench, and then just starts to fight crime and injustice, and things like he's in the queue at the cinema and somebody skips the queue. He runs to the phone booth, puts in his really shit fucking costume, runs back here and fucking kills the guy with his fucking wrench. It's just brutal, and he thinks he's doing the right thing. and it's stupid as anything, and the humour is really getting stupid. It's got Rainn Wilson in it and Ellen Page. Funny as anything. I really enjoyed it, but it was an R-rated superhero film a few years back. I'll put the trailer for that on.
Cool.
That's quality.
Awesome,
I remember
man.
that. I've got a DVD there and might watch that. Right, so thank you very much, Greg.
No, thank you very much for having me, so much appreciated.
Bearded Master of Sci-Fi. We've got, again, if you enjoyed the show or you like it, give us a share, tell your buddies about it, comment and participate on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. If you use iTunes or whatever you use, give us a wee rating there, that'd be good. Click on the adverts on the website, buy some of my fantastic products that allows me to do this shit. Health Made Simple, Energetic Minds, Rob Wallace Media, whatever. Aye, awesome. Any final words?
Just be excellent to everybody.
Oh, brilliant, Ted. Love it. Nice one, Greg. Take it easy.
You too, man.
Everything is an Illusion is brought to you by RobWallaceMedia.com, award-winning media. TheEnergeticMind.com, inspirational, motivational and thought-provoking art. And Health Made Simple. Buy today, change your life forever. healthmadesimple.info. Thank you, and remember, question everything.